Good morning. Before we begin learning, inside, we're up to the Mittler Rebbe's Maimer on page 429. I mentioned a few weeks ago, now I want to more formally announce. Well, I say formally, I mean internally. It's not to the public yet, but you're good friends and family. We learn together. So we're closing in on the 500th episode of my life Chassidus Applied that I began around 11 years ago. So it's over 10 years, 500 episodes, pretty big milestone. So it decided, because it's touched so many lives and helped so many people and continues to do so, and questions keep pouring in, to be honest, every week, more and more questions. I can't even keep up with it about every topic. We decided to launch a campaign to honor the 500th episodes with also certain new initiatives that will hopefully we can incorporate, including taking all these questions and answers and maybe using AI, creating a database, creating a book and other materials. So we created a page called mylife500.com. Going to be a campaign, fundraising campaign. And I wanted to tell this group, our intimate group, my close friends, all of you about it. I've spoken to our dearest friend, Yitzchak, who I see is here, Yitzchak Weiner, who as always is ready to take the lead and help as much as he can. And he was very gracious in offering every help he can. And so I just wanted to say that at the outset of this class. I'll give you more details as it goes. We, as I said, have not launched it to the public, but it's a live campaign already, and I'm excited about it. And being that it's been free, I think many people have benefited from this, and from all our work, I think we'll respond well and nicely. So it's a partnership. I wanted to let everyone know. Okay.
Mazel tov on reaching episode 500.
Thank you. And I couldn't do it alone. I mean, all the questions were generated by people, so it's like a user-generated, interactive experience. Okay. That said, let's go into the very matter of what Chassidus Applied is about, learning Chassidus. Also, being that we're coming to Lag BaOmer this Sunday, the Rebbe Rashab calls Lag BaOmer the Matan Torah of Pnimis HaTorah. Interesting title. So very appropriate that we shall be learning Chassidus, especially this time of year. So let us go right into it. So where are we? We are at the end of the paragraph on page 429. And summing up, this last paragraph was Mik Hashem Elokeinu Dafke Hamagbi L'Sheves. That is talking about the Avodah, the work of neshamas down below, in the lowest of worlds, where we are magbi, we elevate, refine, transform the material world, and elevate it back to the Yud, where it originated, the Yud of Chachma of Torah, that clarifies what's right, what's wrong. So when we do mitzvahs below, we're essentially we're elevating the world, and we're being mamshich, and also being maila, the Yud, to be aligned with the Yud of Chachma, of the Birur of Chachma, that Chachma is Beriru, that clarifies what's right, what's wrong, what's Isser, Heter, kosher, not kosher, permitted, not permitted, etc., etc. And in that process, we cause L'Sheves, well, before we get to L'Sheves, it reaches all the way up. So it goes far higher than the Yud of Chachma. It goes all the way to the Moir, the source of it all, because the whole point of it all was in order to come down below and create a Dira B'Tachtein. And it goes all the way up to that source and provides for it L'Sheves, a Mochen L'Shivtecha, a home, a dwelling place. La'asad Lavi, that will be the entire world, will be Begale Mochen L'Shivtecha, a Dira B'Tachtein. Today, we do it as much as we can, each person their own personal lives. We have a me'enza, like by Rosh Hashanah. All our avodah is essentially building that, but today it still can be somewhat behelim. to some extent. And it'll be all begoli la'asid love, as he explained. So that's the process of us, of Magbiya L'Sheves. Now he added in the L'Sheves, he said, Yesha behelim v'hester sheba atzmus. We call kos yudke. The kisei is either kos yudke or kisei with an aleph, which he associates again with Rosh Hashanah, and that is reaching Shamayim al Yenim Shamayim Kisi, which is referring to Tehiri Ilah. And that should be Nimshach Malklam Hodem Ragli, in the footstool that goes all the way down into the divine that manifests within existence. So Rosh Hashanah, and in general, the Avodah is to reach all the way up to the highest levels of Rembes Atzmus and draw it down and Magbiya L'Sheves. This is what we do through Mitzvos, that takes the Yud into the Daled. Malchus on its own is bereft and empty because Lesla Magamal Kluma, Daled, Dal, and we're Mamshich the Yud of Chachmeh into Malchus, that takes the Dalet into a Hey, it makes Tzedek into Tzedakah. Tzedakah is the name for all mitzvahs. Because Lahachis Ruach Shvalim, Tzedakah gives life, vivifies and energizes and revives and resurrects and sustains the existence. Okay, so that was that. The mitzvahs, Lamata Bereishis. And the place that elevates, he emphasized Mokum She'elasham Behelam the Stima the Chol Stimin. Sham Dafki Yeded Gam Lamata Mata. So reaching not just the levels of Giluyim, of the Yud, of Chachmeh, or even the Giluyim of Erein Yisrael before the Tzimtzum, but all the way to the Helam, what he calls Stima the Chol Stimin, like he said, and the Kisei Elyon, which is the place where the divine, the essence manifests. And by Matan Torah we had like that as well. Matan Torah was Primius Atzmis Torah Mitzvos, Eretz Hashem al Hasinai Lamata Mata. Okay, Mamash Mekemei Atzmi, it's coming from Mekemei Atzmi. Yeah. Like Shahu Lamata Behelam, Ula'asid Lave Yizgala Mina Helam Azel Lamata, Magbiya L'Sheves will be completely revealed below just as above, and that is Machan L'Shivtacha, the full, permanent, seamless flow from the highest level, Atzmus, residing and dwelling in this material world. Okay. That sums up pretty much what we learned on page 429. So let's continue. We'll continue now, new paragraph, 429. The pages, if you want to follow, can be found at ayimbeis.com. So it says like, V'kach gam achshav, and so too now. See again, if you remember, back on 428, line number 5, line 5, he said, "V'yeshna gam ata," that this amshacha, this Allah and amshacha is we also have today, when we are afraid of Kabbalah Sal Malchus Shemayim, and specifically Rosh Hashanah, as he's emphasized several times. So now he's saying it again. So you clearly see that the Mittler Rebbe is very sensitive to the fact that he wants it to not just be an abstract idea that will be in the future, but kargam achshav. So too now, even though Begoli in the fullest sense of the word, it will be lost love, but also now, b'chol misha makabla love el malchus shamayim. Everyone who accepts upon himself the yoke of heaven. And I'm just wondering whether shamayim here is also hinting to shamayim kisi, shamayim al yenim, as he said, the highest levels. That anyone who's accepted, which means the exact opposite of the animal soul's initial instinct is to take care of itself. Kabbalah Sel Malchus Shamayim means that down below in a material world of ego and self-interest and so on, we dedicate our lives to the yoke of heaven. Ba'ava v'yira, and as we mentioned several times, ba'ava with love and reverence. B'haftas Hashem alekecha, and in general that we dedicate our lives ba'ava v'yira l'kayim atera mitzvos, to fulfill and perform the Torah mitzvahs, dafke, but omre, when we say, so this what we're talking about, we're mamshich now too, when we're Kabbalah Sel Malchus Shamayim, Ava V'yira, and Torah mitzvahs. Like we say, but omre, when you say, and he's now going to emphasize and elaborate a bit more how this reflects in our Avodah, when we say, bebirchas ha-mitzvahs. So in every mitzvah, we make a bracha on the mitzvah. What do we say? Baruch atah Hashem, Elokeinu melech, Baruch atah Hashem. Why is it Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu? Not sure why there's a yud there. because it should be once he says Havaya Lekenu. Anyway, so we say Baruch Atah Hashem Lekenu Melech Ha'olam, and then Asher Kedishanu b'Mitzvos v'Tzivanu. So we say exactly those words again. Havaya Lekenu. Remember, Mika Hashem Lekenu, Shema Yisrael Hashem Lekenu. So when we do that, Nimshach Meremamus. When we're making that bracha and we're doing those mitzvahs, we're drawing from the Remamus of Melech Yochid Hanal, from the exalted state. Remamus, remember, is referring to not the divine as it relates to existence, like Mamala Kalam, the imminent divine level. But we're talking about the transcendent, the one that is completely beyond. We're drawing from there, like we said, Magbiyah L'Shevet, Lamata Mamish. Down below. That's what we're doing when we do a mitzvah. That's a chiddush. In other words, God created the world. He created the world for the purpose that an neshama should come into this world, do Torah mitzvahs, and transform the world. But how does it actually happen? When we do a mitzvah and we say Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu Melech Ha'olam, Melech. And you see, he doesn't say the word Olam here, but we're drawing from the highest levels of Malchus into Melech Ha'olam. That's Baruch Atah Hashem, that Lamata Mamish, Kamoisha Magbi L'Sheves, Lamayla Mamish. That down below, it should be, he should reside and dwell exactly as he dwells above, when Atzmus is completely on his own, where he's completely beyond everything, and he dwells in that place. But the kavanah here is that the dwelling should be below. As it will be in the full sense of the word, the full glory in Elam Haba. So every mitzvah we do is essentially, I don't want to say a taste of it, it's a piece of it. Like I mentioned, a building block, if you wish. But it's in microcosm, that experience. That's what a mitzvah is. The fact that we don't see or feel it is because it hasn't yet fully permeated and fully transformed. But there are many signs that we could see, as I mentioned a number of times when the Rebbe, when he speaks about, when you look around, you see the advancements in life, technology-wise, politically-wise, the freedoms we have, and so on, is all part of the refinement that Torah Mitzvahs accomplishes. But truly, Begali, that's what the Rambam said. Begali will be Mola Oretz Deis Hashem when Mashiach comes, the full sense of the Geula of the Osad Lava, Elam Haba. So here he says how we see it now. So even though he said this earlier also, that every time we do a mitzvah, this is the point, but he adds now the bracha. So now you see Hashem Elokeinu as it is in Birchas HaMitzvahs. And it draws from Melech Yochid into Melech Ha'olam. But who? Okay. Now, any questions before I continue? I think it's pretty clear, but still, if anybody wants to ask anything. Now he's going to go back to our original theme. If you recall, the two levels of Yichud, Yichud Tata, Yichud Elah, Das Tacht and Das Elyon, and how an Atzmus, Kel Deus Havaya, unites both of them. They're both equal. So he's now going to go back to that. So he's already discussed it, but he's, as I said, rounding it all out. Remember, we only have a few more pages in this Maimer, but he's bringing it all down. We have till page 434. We're now 429, so we have 5 more pages. So he says like this now. Well, who mitamanal? And this process, how can we achieve such a thing? It seems like a tremendous achievement. You're not just connecting to godliness as relates to us. You're bringing Atzmus, as he is on his own, so to speak, into a world that initially was a tachtenim that concealed godliness and even defied godliness. So you're talking about a true transformation. I mean, it's similar. I'm saying almost the same words when we learned earlier. How could you transform the animal soul to love God when the animal soul is only interested in itself? And the bottom line answer was that the animal soul's root is in the high level. And the process is that the divine soul trains and harnesses and transforms the animal soul into fuel, oil, for v'haftas Hashem Elokecha b'chol levavcha b'shnei yitzarecha. So where do we have this power? So he says, "V'hu metam hanal." This is for the above mentioned reason. That what? The gam b'bchinas ishtalshlus, the yichud elah v'yichud tata. That also in ishtalshlus, which is in the structure of the cosmic order, where you have levels, higher and lower, and you have yichud elah, which is the level of complete bittul b'mitzias, and yichud tata, which is bittul ayesh, the bittul that relates that there is existence, but it's aligned to godliness. The b'chinas beis deis, which is in the two levels, the two perspectives, the das elyon, the das tachten hanal, the perspective from above and the perspective from below, as we learned at length. Shehem beis havchim mamish. If you remember, we spoke clearly that on their own, they're two opposites. One is a divine that's completely, the existence doesn't exist in face of that divine. The other is a divine that absolutely relates to existence. Like we learned, the depths above is das elyon, chudilah, and emek tachten, the depths below. So on their own, ostensibly, they are opposites. They're two opposites. Shzeu gamkein, the parentheses he adds, that these two levels, if you recall, that's also Hamagbi and Hamashpili. Magbi and Mashpili canal. What did he say? What we learned earlier, Magbi is the level of going to Das Elyon. Mashpili is Lirish B'Shamayim Ba'oretz, is the Elikus as it comes down to see and relate to existence. Canal, Biyud D'Shem Havaya, Biyud D'Shem Adnai. Remember the Havaya Adnai, Havaya begins Yud Ke Vavke with a Yud. That's the Das Elyon, the higher Yud. Then there's the last Yud of Adnai, Aleph Dal Nun Yud. So these are two levels. Then we spoke how they join as one. So, but initially they were talking about two levels. Canal, Hare Sevel Beis Adeyas Ke'echad. Atzmus, however, contains both of them as one. This distinction is from our point of view. Once you go into Ishtalshus, once you go to the Tzimtzum, then of course there are different levels. But his Sevel, he contains both levels, both deis and perspective. Being that he's higher than higher and lower in the first place. It's not that God is higher and we're lower. God is higher even than the level we call Maila. And of course, higher than Maila Mata canal. And the very moment, or the very, B'shah means at the time, simultaneous to when he elevate Losheves for him to reside and dwell from the highest levels, but in the depths above, Oz Mashpili. If you recall, he said clearly, then at the very same time is Mashpili. It's not like two different things. It's two things from our point of view. But from the Eibishter's point of view, Magbi and Mashpili are both equals. They're two forms of divine expression. One is an elevated form where the divine is beyond existence. Another is the divine as it relates to existence. But from the point of view of Atzmus, he's above both of them. And therefore, in the Magbi, you have the Mashpili. Which is why he said earlier that with that Dir B'Tachtenim down below is not Elikus measured and tailored. It's the Atzmus, exactly as he's Magbi L'Sheves above, that's how he's Mochin L'Shiftacha below. That's the key here. The Nitvas ve'ein Nitvas Ke'echad. The expression he used earlier, that he's contained by it, but not contained at the same time. Which is, of course, a paradox. Either you're defined by it, or you're not defined. So we say he defines existence, existence doesn't define him. So there's both how he relates to existence, and at the same time, God is beyond existence, exactly in the same breath, in the same reality, which of course is the highest level that is not so easy to wrap our heads around and not easy to arrive at, but that's the process, and that's the ultimate. Im Kain. So, based on what this we learned earlier, he says, Im Kain, based on this, Kol Shkein v'Kal v'Chemer. How much more so? B'Bchinas ha'Primis v'Atzmus de Ein Sof. This, we're speaking about Atzmus, is beyond both. He's saying even more so, when we talk about the Primis and Atzmus of Ein Sof, the Eibishter's kavana in having a Dir B'Tachtenim, which is in the inner and core of Ein Sof, Shebetera Mitzvos, B'Melech Yochid Hanal, that all the way as God is completely as an individual, exclusive entity, completely beyond it all, Shemaylo Mata Shovin Mamish, that above and below are equal Mamish. You could say, what's the Kol Shkein v'Kal v'Chemer? Didn't we just say that? No. Because what he was saying was that Atzmos is the beyond both that we learned. But now we're talking about the Avodah Vidin. The Avodah Vidin, Kol Shkein v'Kal v'Chemer, because they're fulfilling the very Primis HaKavana. When God created existence, you could say creation has level of Das Elyon, Das Tachten, Yichud Ilah, Yichud Tata. Atzmos joins them both together. But that's only a perspective of, that's only from the level of Atzmos. But when we bring Torah and Mitzvos, and we're fulfilling the previous kavanah of Atzmus in fulfilling his desire that we should build a mishkan, a Beis Hamikdash, adira b'tachtenim. That's the kolshken. That for sure we're reaching a place that's higher than Maila Mata are equal. The aim is shinui klal v'klal, and there's no change. Like we spoke, Ani Hashem Lishon, there's no shift. It's immutable. It's exactly as above. That's how it is below. Seamless. But that's only at the end of the process of fulfilling and doing our avodah. This does not happen automatically. And he brings now a raya from Matan Torah. Again, there are a lot of ideas here that we have learned earlier. I recall clearly that we learned that Matan Torah was a me'enze, like he says in Tanya. He says, "V'raya Matan Torah." This is indicated, or we can prove it, or it's a type of proof. Raya is usually a proof, but he means that we see a precedent for it. The Matan Torah, sheyorad Hashem b'kfeidei ba'atzmei lamata. He mentioned Matan Torah in the previous paragraph at the end. What happened? Vayered Hashem Har Sinai is not the divine, a limited version, a limited element or diminished. It's b'kfeidei ba'atzmei. The Eibishter descended lamata with in his full glory. Bislapshus the Malchus the Ein Sof b'Torah Mitzvos b'Dvarim Pshutim. Where he manifests Malchus of Ein Sof, like we learned Malchus of Ein Sof. We're talking now Malchus before the Tzimtzum, going all the way to Reimamus HaMalchus. So he's not talking about Malchus the Ein Sof as it relates to the Tzimtzum and its to existence. Malchus the Ein Sof as Malchus beyond Malchus Datzilus that relates to Biyah, like we learned earlier. And where was this nimshach lamata bislapshus b'teira mitzvahs b'dvarim pshutim? As we know, the 10 Commandments are simple rules. Do not steal, do not murder. And the question is sometimes asked in Chassidus and other places, what you need God to tell you simple things like that? It's one thing you say there's a revelation at Sinai and God is revealing the deepest cosmic secrets. He's saying simple things. But we learn, Chassidus explains, the Rebbe explains in a number of places. That's the whole point. The whole kavanah of Atzmus is to come down in Dvarim Pshutim in simple life down below. Yes, that if we live a life, an ethical life, and behaving the right way, that is the kavanah that it should be in Tachtenim in a simple way. We should simply be human and Dvarim Pshutim, like you said before, Dvarim Gashmim in this physical, simple world. So in Elam Haba, or I shouldn't say Elam Haba because it'll confuse matters. In Gan Eden, we don't have Mitzvos Maisis. You don't have Leisignev and Leisirzach because there's no Yetzer Hara. There's no ability to do that. So there you learn Torah and you're Nana Meziv Ashchina and you're enjoying the delights of godly pleasures and godly understanding and godly emotions, as in love and reverence and so on. But it's tough in this world, the Dvarim Pshutim. So you see from Matan Torah, these two extremes, where the Kveide Ba'atzmei comes down all the way Lamata, Mislabish and Torah and Dvarim Pshutim. And it starts, Anoichi Hashem Elekecha. Doesn't mention, it also says Hashem Elekecha, Anoichi Hashem Elekecha. Anoichi we know is the level of Atzmus, Hashem Elekecha, and then it goes on, Shesichem Eretz Mitzrayim, as Moshe told the angels, when they said, leave the Torah by us, he said, were you ever in Mitzrayim? Do you have parents? Do you have a temptation to steal? So in other words, the whole Torah is given dafka below here for those that went into Mitzrayim, which is in the lowest of worlds. And this is like it will be in Elam Haba. Elam Haba, he means the future. Next page, 430. That this gili of Kveide Ba'atzmei, of Atzmos down below, will be without any garment and without any concealment at all. Canal. As discussed earlier, Mishum de Eim B'chinas Levush Zed, the Torah Mitzvos, Master Klal B'Primius V'Atzmis. Because the Levush of Torah Mitzvos will not cover up at all in the inner and core. Does not cover. When you're Megala, the Primius and Atzmis, which is God's Rotzen and God's wisdom in the deepest levels, there's no garment. Today, the Torah does come down by slapshus. There is slapshus. You don't see it completely, but the Elam Haba will be completely revealed. Lamata, like we say, Lo yikonef ed merecha. Literally those words. You'll see your master without any garment. Lo yikonef. There won't be any veil, any garment that will shield him or cover him. Let me stop it's the middle of the idea, this saying more, but let's do it. Let's pace ourselves here if anybody wants to ask anything or clarify anything. Raya Lizet. He already said before Raya Lizet for Matan Teda. Raya Matan Teda. He's saying Raya Lizet. Another thing that indicates this, Memashagam Achshav, that also now we have a taste of it, we have a experience of it, because also now we say, Yeshiv V'zon is Kol Ha'elam. Eibishter sits, Yeshiv. Interesting word, Yeshiv, like L'sheves. V'zon, and he sustains, he nourishes, as Kol Ha'elam. Yeshiv V'zon is Kol Ha'elam. What do we know from this? So he continues, the Eibishter is feeding or sustaining the world. The midday is the chesed and gvura, and he does that through what? Through his attributes of chesed and gvura. Chesed is bestowing, gvura is channeling, gvura is the discipline. Bottom line, the middays, elyenis, the spheres, are the way God channels his hashpah, his transmission, and his zon, as kol ha'elam kuli b'chazdei, like we say in benching, b'chazdei, but also gvura, shebemelech, Geius Lovish Hanal. So Belach Melech Geius Lovish, the king who garbs himself with greatness. It's a lavush through which he's mamshich the zonas hakel, eskel al pi mishpat hamidvas. According to the mishpat would be the rule or I don't say judgment. Mishpat means the discretion. Mishpat here means like when you weigh. In a base mishpat, you're weighing the right way. You're determining. It's like a king determining who is going to give what to. There must be a word for it. Besides, it's not judgment. It's not
assessing, allocating.
Assessing is good. It's a little more than assessing because he's also like in a way, it's like when you sit, it's like when the committee sits and determines who's going to get which grant, so to speak. Yeah, all those words are fitting, assessing, allocating. But mishpat is a word we use especially because it's like Lamaila, they determine, like Rosh Hashanah, who's going to get parnasa, what type of parnasa. So I said before, discretion, it's a sitting in judgment. Okay,
considering
midas. The midas basically are determining the flow. Mishpat hamidas, the Teira dafke. The mishpat the Teira dafke, meaning the mishpat, the law of Teira, because Teira is where Hashem says, "Im b'chukei telechu," when you'll follow my laws. V'nesati gishmeichem be'itam. So in other words, Teira is compared to mishpat, to law, because what is the law? It's telling us and guiding and directing what the rules are, so to speak. So al pi mishpat the Teira dafke k'mesher kosov, like the Chazal say. Gimel Shoes, Yeshiv Esek B'Teira. The three, it said the Gemara talks about, Chazal talk about, is it a Gemara or is it a Medrash? Let me see. No, it's a Gemara in Navei Zara. That the first 3 hours the Eibishter sits and studies Teira. Esek exerts himself in Teira. Gimel, Yeshiv Zon. Yeshiv Adon, sorry. And the 3 hours Yeshiv and he judges. Kamesha Kosa B'Zeyar. And he brings a zeh, like it says in Zohar. Melech on the posuk, al posuk Melech b'mishpat yamid oretz. That the king, with his laws, he establishes his land. What is a kingdom? An empire without laws? Anarchy, chaos. So he needs mishpat. What's the mishpat of the Eibishter? That's Teira. The mishpat daraisa. So the Zohar teaches mishpat is referring to the mishpat of Teira, shebaraisa bara alma. So the Eibishter created the world with Teira. Teira is his blueprint, but Teira is also, so to speak, the laws of existence, of what is right and wrong, cause and effect. Even when you talk about reward and punishment, which I like to use cause and effect, all this is established in Teira, mishpat of Teira, and that is what he's saying. That also today, Yeshiv is on, that's the Eibishter, how he sustains existence. We'll soon see how that proves the point he wants to make. But clearly he wants to demonstrate that you have the Eibishter running the world. However, he didn't yet prove that it's coming from Atzmos. You could say maybe this level is a Lakus as it relates to existence. Das Tachta. So we'll see where he goes with this. So let's just continue reading and we'll see. V'chein b'Rosh Hashanah. Now this, what we say as Zona Sa'ilam, is all year round. And the same thing Rosh Hashanah. So again, he goes back to Rosh Hashanah. But Rosh Hashanah nimshach memelech HaKodesh. And now he's referring, it's nimshach not just from Melech HaOlam. If you remember, Melech HaKodesh, Lies Melech Zuta. It's nimshach from the Melech as Atzmus, as Malchus, Rememus HaMalchus, all the way in the core. That from there should become into Melech Zuta, a new expression we haven't seen before. So there's Zuta in Hebrew, there's Rabba and Zuta. Rabba means great, Zuta means small. It's a word in Aramaic. So you say Melech Zuta. So Melech HaKadosh is referring to the higher level of Malchus, of Ein Sof, like we learned, Rememus HaAtzmos, beyond existence. Melech Zuta is that it's nimshach to be our Melech, Melech HaElam in this world. Let's see, do they say in what Melech Zuta? They tell us to look at another mimer of the Mittler Rebbe. I'm looking at the footnotes below. Okay. Melech Zuta, U'kamoisha Kosav. Like it says, Ki Hashem Melech Elyon, Neira. Ki Hashem Melech Elyon, Neira. Because God, the supernal king above, Neira is awesome. U'kamoi v'shimcha Neira. So what does the Neira come to indicate? That we're not talking about Elikus as it relates to, we're talking about the awesome level, completely beyond. That's what, U'kamoi shimcha Neira, Melech Godel. Bringing a bunch of terms clearly indicating that we're talking about the higher level of Malchus, not the lower level. Uksiv hashefet kol ha'oretz, ukahai gavna. And similar to that. And it says, hashefet kol ha'oretz, the judge of the entire earth. The expression Avraham Avinu said, when he was spoken to Hashem about Zdoim, that you are the shefet of kol ha'oretz. So what do we see from this? He's clearly saying that it's coming from the highest level, but it's coming down below. You don't need to wait for Elam Haba and La'asad Lave for experiencing the divine on this world. However, look how he continues. But however, now it's concealed. It's manifest in a concealed way for Malchus of Ein Sof. The Malchus d'Atzilus. So it goes from Malchus d'Ein Sof into Malchus of Atzilus, ad Malchus d'Asiyah, to Malchus d'Asiyah, which he mentioned earlier. First he mentioned Malchus d'Asiyah, didn't mention Malchus d'Asiyah a few pages ago, but he mentioned it a while back in this mimer. So that's the Slapshus. And La'asad Lave, I'm sure we'll read on, is Malchus Ein Sof Mamish as it is, undiluted and unaffected by this Levush. That's today. V'nizgala leprokim, and at times it gets revealed. Mittler Rebbe is again qualifying. There are times, the prokim at certain times, certain intervals, it does get revealed. Kamashiyah also love it, but he doesn't elaborate. He just says kamashikosa b'mokim. So in other words, we can have an experience of Lasad Lovi also now, but he doesn't tell us the details. And I don't see them seichening, so we'd have to look around where that would be. That's the parentheses. Okay. So it comes down Behelim, but it's still coming from those highest levels. Avol Ksiv. And but it says, Ani Rishon v'ani Achrin. Remember, we spoke about that pasuk earlier. I am the first and I am the last. That means from the top to the bottom, it's all one flow. However, it's concealed today. V'chein ro ke'ani anihu lishinu klal mitamanal. He also brought that pasuk ke'ani anihu. The two levels that he spoke about earlier, I don't remember where in the mimer, but it was quite a while, at least 20 pages back. The ani above to the ani below, b'li shinei klal, without any shift or change. Mitam hanal, for the reason mentioned above, which is that Atzmus is beyond both, ma'ila mata. So when you access that, you're accessing a level that unifies and equalizes the highest and the lowest. The Dal. Dal Maven. Expression from the Mittler Rebbe. Questions? Any questions? Again, a lot of this we've learned, so it's not fundamentally completely new ideas, but new expressions, some new expressions, so tying it together. You can see the Mitzvos Rebbe is doing it now also to the language Magbiya L'Sheves, which was not the language used earlier in the Maimon. So if you don't feel there's something like really new that was innovated here, that's fine. I mean, there's always some new nuances and so on, but it is the central themes that we spoke about before. So if anything, it affirms and confirms what we've been learning. Okay. Anyone, any comments, questions?
Sorry, I have a quick question, if I may. The Inyan of Torah Mitzvos, essentially bringing the Eibishter into this world, he says, now it's still the Helen Behester. It'll be revealed. Is that, first of all, that's not my question, but is that correct?
Absolutely.
Okay. So
you don't even need the mimer, just look out your window.
Yeah, you can't see it. I got it. So, nevertheless, we've talked various times in this class about moments when you might be able to feel what is it like to connect with Atzmus, and they're momentary for most people, not for tzaddikim, but for most of us, that's very momentary and fleeting. Like, let's say on Yom Kippur.
He just said, look, the parentheses, Nizgal leprokim, kamoshi yelosed lovey. We just read
Where
the
does he say?
parentheses.
Where?
We just read it.
What does he mean, leprokim? Sometimes?
Yeah, there are times that we have experience of this today.
Oh, he said it right there.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then there's, of course, Matan Torah and certain events in history where it was more manifest.
Be revealed. Yeah, exactly. That one can theoretically connect with Atzmus,
but it's not
in a
lost
sense.
love. It's not lost love. It's just not
Right.
lost love. It's a revelation of, a taste of. I mean, there's a lot of ways to explain it. As it all starts in Tanya, in chapter 36, I mentioned it several times. Check it out. In Tanya, it talks what will be lost love. He brings all the verses from the prophecies that will be lost love. Then he says, that already happened, like a similar taste of it or a similar experience by Matan Torah. Yeah, and then there's, like he says here, there's Gal Leprokim, and I mentioned probably in some Maimorim he talks about more details how that manifests.
Okay.
But this is common with everything in Torah. There are things that happen in the full sense of the word. Then we have, like, we don't have a Beis Hamikdash today. That doesn't mean we can't have tefillah, prayer, instead of karbonos. It's not actually a carbon, but it's a. So we have constantly throughout so many different ways where something is experienced in the full sense, and then it's experienced like Zechi Yetzias Mitzrayim. We say every day, and yet Pesach Mitzrayim is in full glory. The Seder. What about every day we mention Yetzias Mitzrayim? It's a constant microcosm, macrocosm, like
100%. So let me ask you a follow-up question. Chassidus, this is more Chassidus applied. So the Indian is that the Atzmus, because of this Keldeas Hashem and the Yichud of the two Yichudim, and there's basically Atzmus is here, even though from our perspective, Das Tachta and it's Behelim Behester, how shall I say, macroscopically, he is here because he's everywhere. But it's not just kind of a nice thing to say. He's mamish here. It's just we're not, say most of us again, we're just not on that wavelength all the time. But here's the question. Suppose, let's say when I say Shema, or at any other time of the day, and I say, for whatever reason, could be I'm having something happy, something sad, I'm looking at something beautiful, or maybe I'm having a really bad time. Doesn't matter. All kinds of reasons you might want to think about, am I alone in this situation? And you say, no, you have this contemplation. Atmas is mamash here. And you sort of contemplate on that. And you say, wow, this is like, it's really here. Like, I don't know. funny example, Lahabdio,
So
Elvis Presley.
all good that you're saying. That's
Right.
all fine.
Is that
It's
the question? Is that
exactly
is
our
that
avodah. That's what's supposed to be our avodah.
okay? So it's not like I'm not nuts to be thinking that as I go about my life. That's the Chassidus applied question.
Absolutely not. He says it here explicitly. He says,
Uh,
I mentioned several times, Kach gam achshav, yeshna gam ata. I'm using actual words from the mimer here. He's speaking
yes, right
literally
now.
how we have it now, in our time. And now the prokim at times it's revealed in that sense. Absolutely.
Okay.
Look, how many times have I said that Mitzvos, Mashiach, and Geula is part of the process that comes from the building blocks? Did you look in Tanya chapter 36 and 37? Look inside there.
Yes. No, yeah.
He says clearly the whole Geula and Lasalavi is coming because every time you do a mitzvah, you bring Megala Lakus in this world. So the sum total of it, when it finally accumulates and erupts, that's Geula.
Right.
So Geula is basically a result of and a direct outgrowth of our Avodah, not two separate things.
I think that the remarkable point here, though,
anyway, the point is everybody has to find in their personal life these levels, and that's all that's asked for. We can't do things that are beyond us. You know, we can't. We have to do whatever we can. Mutfa, murgish, muskul, climb the ladder, grow, move forward. Now, sometimes you'll feel it, sometimes you won't feel it. Sometimes you'll feel stronger. You know, Yom Kippur, hopefully you feel something deeper. Sometimes you don't. I don't think this should be measured by feelings or like, where's the reward? You have to do it because this is the right thing to do. And at times it's really going to shine and you'll see the beauty of it. And sometimes it's going to be more Kabbalah sale. You have to do it even though you're not in the mood or something.
Not feeling it. Wonderful. Okay. Thank you.
David Hamelech said, I have set you before. Didn't he say? I don't know the exact quote. I have set Hashem before me always. You kind of have to develop this consciousness that Hashem
the chiddush is this. The chiddush is this, that Atzmus is aware of all this. That's obvious. The chiddush is that though we can be selfish creatures and even dark creatures, and we have our own ugly places and our own selfish needs, and everybody knows in their own heart how low one can fall at times. And this world is filled with temptations and seductions and forces literally of evil and violence and pain and abuse. I mean, let's not forget that this world, Tachtenim, should experience that. That is actually beyond mind-boggling. Because that Atzmus is there, that's who he is. Even in higher worlds, in higher worlds, there's no darkness. So they don't have Atzmus, they have Giluyim. So the Chiddush is to bring that highest levels down below. And that's why it's been a hard journey and very difficult journey. Look what prices we had to pay for this. People have died, people have suffered tremendously. And of course, sacrificed themselves and so on. So if you want to talk Chiddush applied, don't go into abstractions. Everything he's saying here is he's talking the dynamics of it. But it comes down to it is how do we transform this world to the point it becomes a dira b'tachtem, and God wants a dira here. He doesn't want a dira in Gan Eden, or an Atzilus, or even in Lifnei Tzimtzum. That he has without us. He doesn't need all this. He made a Tzimtzum in order there should be a world like ours, completely concealed. That's why I go back to chapter 36 and 37, but 36 and 37 in Tanya, because that's where the Alter Rebbe really lays down the foundations of this concept. And that, to me, I've been learning it all my life, so it comes to me very naturally. But if it's something that's newer to you, I would just go back to Tanya, learn it, read it again, as many times as you need. Because that's really what it all comes down to, and that's what we're talking about here.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, I think, like you said, the Chiddush is the inyan that we ourselves can connect with Atzmus here, right now in our lives. That to me is very powerful.
Yeah. There's actually somewhere in the Maimer, much earlier, I have to find it. I think on page 412, where he says, Ein ze chidush klal, that the air of Torah comes down below. The chidush is when it transforms darkness into light. Not when light comes into darkness is a good thing, but the real chidush and transformation. Look at top of page 412, may be helpful here as well. Okay.
Thank you. I'm not looking.
Yeah. So let's. Are there any other questions, comments, anything? Okay. Now, the Mittler Rebbe continues to add more to this topic. He says, "V'shedish ha'inyan hu," the root of the inyan. Now, what he means by root here is like establishing what levels are we talking about exactly. He says, "Is k'moshe kosov l'mayla," like we learned earlier above, the emek reim ve'emek tachas. That the emek reim, the depth above reim knows from the word reimamus. Emek reim, the depths above, and the depths below. Emek tachas, the das elyon, the das tachten. From the higher perspective, the lower perspective, shavin mamish lefnei atzmus the ein sof. They're mamish equal in the presence or before atzmus ein sof. Al kain ein shinei klal ben lamayla ben lamata. That's why there's no shift and no change in any way between what's above ben lamayla ben lamata, between above and below. Ta'gam shiyadua, though it's known. Okay, so there you have an expression, Erein Sof, Lamaila Aden Ketz, Lamaila, and Lamata Aden Tachlis. Clearly, in Erein Sof, you see a level of Maila and Mata. This is a famous Maimar Chazal from, this is a famous Zayar, Tikkun Zayar. This is, if you remember, Boser Legani this year when we learned Yud Shvat, this year, the previous years, these chapters we're learning now, chapters essentially 14, 15, are talk all about Erein Sof, Lamaila Aden Ketz, Lamata Aden Tachlis. So it says clearly, that indicates in Erein Sof 2 levels. So he says like this, that's already Chesed and Gvura, Chesed being, well, there's different interpretations. Chesed could be the flow, Lamata Aden Tachlis, and Gvura is Lamaila going up the Helam. Sometimes explained the other way around. But bottom line, you're already talking now kavim, tracks, that are as a result of Aydei Tzimtzum De'erein Sof. In other words, the Etzem De'erein Sof is higher than Ma'ila Mata. So when we say Lamada Aden Kes, Lamata Aden Tachlis, it's true. De'erein Sof ultimately does manifest in different tracks. But when we talk about the core and essence itself, Ein shama fila b'chinas ma'ila mata klal. There, you don't even have the words ma'ila mata. You can't even say l'ma'ila aden ketz, l'mata aden tachlis. K'meshikosa be'etz chayim. Like it says in Eitz Chaim. I would be surprised if they zeichen it, because I don't know if we know where this Eitz Chaim is. Let me see. Do they zeichen it? No. But that's what he says here. The Zeu kol ikra yichud. And I was taking us back to the yichud, and this also the very good connection to the end of Ayin Beis. This is the ikra yichud amilti b'krishma. Remember, it all began with Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, Yichud Tato, Yichud Elo, and then the yichud of both yichudim in the Mittler Rebbe's Maimer in Ayin Beis at length. So this is the ikra yichud, the primary yichud, the primary unification. Amiti and true unification. B'krishma be'echad. When we say be'echad, Hashem echad. Shetamlichu b'shamayim u'ba'orez b'shava mamish mitamanal. That you're crowning God and His sovereignty. You're accepting His sovereignty. B'shamayim u'ba'orez equal. B'shava mamish. And now you'll see another line. That's another great clue that connects it back to the central theme of Ayin Beis. V'hainu, a mitamanal, for the above reason that it's all one there. V'hainu k'meshakosov, look at this, v'yedaita hayim, right? The pasuk v'yedaita hayim ke'avayu alakim. U'shehein beis deyes das elyon v'das tachten yichud lo v'yichud tato b'chlal kanal. And what does the pasuk continue? B'shamayim mimal V'la'oretz mitachas, b'chinas emek reim, in the depths above, u'lamayla aden shir, and higher without any limits, Ube'eretz mitochas. That's the pasuk. Shemayim mimal ba'eretz mitochas be'emek tachten. In the emek tachten b'shneim. To the point that you reach ein oid, the end of the pasuk. B'shava mamish dafke mitam hanal.
Wow. So beautiful.
Vidal. So even though it's just 2 lines here, but now you can see, take this and take the Maimer Vayim Beis, and you start seeing how it all comes together in every possible way. I will obviously elaborate a lot more once we finish this Maimer, but here's clearly, even if the Mittler Rebbe had not brought via Dai Tayyim, it's clearly connected. But he says it makes it far more, obviously, definite, authoritative.
Geschmack.
Yeah, that's that. V'yadai Tayyim. So, and for the record, he did bring V'yadai Tayyim earlier in this Maimer on page 385. So it's not the first time he's bringing it. At the bottom there, I think. Let me see. Yeah. V'yadai Tayyim avay Elokim kul echad. Because the parsa is not Milim at all. Yeah. So page 385, he mentioned it before. Okay. We'll stop here. And as I said, we have a few more pages. We're getting there. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, a little more than 4 pages. I feel somewhat sad when we get to the end, but nothing to be sad about. It's been a big journey, a lot to conquer here. Yeah.
When
Okay,
can we
my
talk
that
about museum?
what
We'll
did you
get
say,
there.
Robin?
We'll get there. One thing at a time.
Okay. I just want to plan for a happy occasion.
No, I'm.
Don't worry, Robin. Be careful what you wish for. You're on the East Coast. I'm on the West Coast, so I may have to
No,
draw on your boots
I
on the
don't want
ground.
to either, but maybe we could do an intermediate CM and then keep going.
Yeah, well, we have a big one we want to plan, but yeah, for sure. Rabbi, where
Well,
did you say that
we
Vayadaita is?
technically ended Ayin Beis, but Ayin Beis didn't end. So, so in the way the Rebbe, so we're trying to, build it all here together. We'll get there. Don't worry. I didn't forget. The balance things. Want to do the campaign first, then we'll deal with that. Yeah. Okay, so we stop here. End of the paragraph, page 430. Any questions, comments? Still not over. He's going to go back. He's going to go back. Remember, Mashpili says, "Lires b'shamayim v'aretz," which is shamayim emal v'aretz mitachas. So, more to go. More to go.
Did we, when we learned the Vayadaita Hayom pasuk and we learned it at length, didn't we talk about this union of Shem Havai and Shem Elokim as a shiluv? Or is that something we use that term elsewhere?
No, we did. We did use it. No, we did in volume 2.
Yeah. And so that shiluv is essentially, it sounds like another way of saying the yichud of das elin and das tachton, and yichud ila and yichud tata. No.
You asked me this a few days ago, and I said we'll get to it when we're ready to review the whole thing. I don't want to go there now.
Okay,
Just going to
fine.
confuse matters.
Okay.
We'll get to it.
By the way, just to the point of Ani Rishon and Ani Achron, I think I said that once before, but it's very, very fitting. It's the letters Yud K Vav K. If you go with the letters before that precedes Yud and Hey and Vav and Hey, and then the letters that go after Yud K Vav K, they all have the same gematria as Ani.
Okay.
It's kind of interesting because Ani Rishon Ani Achron, before and after, all the same.
George, if you have a source for that, can you send that to me?
Sure, there's no source. You can just do the math.
I'm going to forget what you said, though. I guess we're on a recording.
I'll
That's
text
okay.
it to you. I'll text it to you.
No,
No
okay.
problem.
That's great if you can. I forgot. We're still recording.
Of course, no problem.
Thank you. That's kind of cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
At the very least, it's a nice mnemonic, a nice memory device.
Yeah. Okay, I will stop here the recording.